The $20,000 American-made pickup truck with no paint,
What?
no stereo,
What?
and no touchscreen.
That sounds amazing.
Amazon's $20,000 electric truck just collapsed under its own hype. The price was a fantasy, the design was a joke, and real-world range made it useless. Add zero service support and billions in missing funding, and what you get isn't innovation. It's a tech fairy tale with four wheels.
Michigan-based Slate Auto has developed the Slate truck, meant as a blank slate to be extremely customizable and extremely affordable.
You've probably heard the name by now, Slate Auto, a Michigan-based startup backed by none other than Jeff Bezos. Yes, that Jeff Bezos. The guy who delivered books to your door and now wants to deliver you a truck for half the price of anything else on the market. Sounds amazing, right? Well, buckle up, because this revolution has more cracks in it than a sidewalk in Detroit.
The internet is abuzz with this new truck, the Slate, and now it's kind of to imply it's a clean slate. Personalize it any way you want. This is a build it your way, have it your way, Happy Meal type of truck.
Slate Auto, with a little help from Amazon's logistics empire, claims they're building a $20,000 EV truck. That's after federal incentives, of course. Meanwhile, the average electric vehicle in America costs over $55,000, according to Cox Automotive. Let that sink in. They're offering to build an electric truck for less than half the national average. And not just any truck, one with 201 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque that goes from 0 to 60 in about 8 seconds. For comparison, that's quick enough to merge onto the freeway without being flattened. Impressive, if it's real. And the deposit, just $50. That's less than what some of y'all spend on coffee in a week. You're not buying a truck, you're apparently buying a dream. But here's the kicker. This dream truck comes with no infotainment system, no leather seats, and manual windows. Yep, we're back to cranking handles in 2026. The whole concept is being sold as a blank slate. Clever, right? Slate, blank slate. Get it? They want you to personalize everything yourself. It's like the IKEA of electric vehicles. Only this time, you might be assembling the entire vehicle experience, not just a cup holder. But the best part? This truck morphs. According to them, it can switch from a pickup to an SUV to a sleek crossover just by slapping on some bolt-on kits. Sounds like a transformer with a DIY starter pack. The idea is that budget-conscious buyers, you know, the people priced out of Rivians, Lightnings, and Cybertrucks, will finally have their moment. Slate says you can save up to $300,000 in upfront costs if you're a small business buying 10 of these trucks. Sounds like the financial version of losing weight while eating cake. Too good to be true? Just wait. Now, let's dig into the numbers, because this is where the story starts to look like one giant illusion made of duct tape and TED Talks. Slate plans to build this masterpiece in a repurposed printing facility in Indiana. Cute. But here's the thing, retrofitting an old building into a full-scale EV production factory doesn't come cheap. Tesla, Rivian, even Ford have all proven that slapping some paint on an old warehouse doesn't magically turn it into a functioning EV plant. In fact, retrofitting often ends up more expensive than building something brand new. But wait, it gets better. Slate has raised $130 million to get this entire operation going. Sounds like a lot, right? Until you realize they need at least $2 to $3 billion to mass produce 150,000 vehicles a year. That's not a funding gap. That's the Grand Canyon. And they're trying to jump it in a go-kart. Let's talk hardware. Stamping equipment alone can cost up to $100 million. Paint shops, which Slate says they're skipping, usually cost another $100 million or more. But they claim they'll save about $200 per truck by skipping the paint. $200. That's like dropping your health insurance to save on vitamins. And even if you strip the truck down, no touchscreen, no infotainment, manual windows, all that cuts maybe $2,000 to $3,000 off the price. That's it. And remember, they're trying to sell a truck that would normally cost $60,000 plus for a third of that price. And let's not forget the battery. Slate isn't using some cheap battery pack to hit their price. Nope, they've chosen high nickel cells from SK Innovation. These are premium, expensive batteries that bigger companies use for long-range EVs. Using that in a budget truck is like putting caviar in a value meal. It doesn't add up unless they're planning to lose money on every unit and make it up in volume, which, yeah, good luck with that. But, okay, let's pretend they somehow pull all of that off. Let's assume the building, the equipment, the logistics, the battery costs, all of it magically works out. There's still the design issue. You know how every truck in America has 4 doors now? That's because people actually use the back seats. Kids, groceries, gear, you name it. In 2023, over 85% of trucks sold in the US were four-door models. Slate? They're giving us a two-door truck like it's 1995 again. Their solution? A convertible SUV mode. Sounds clever, until you realize passengers have to crawl behind the front seats. Try lifting in a car seat or helping your grandma into that back area. It's not innovation, it's a yoga challenge, and modular vehicles, as cool as they sound, usually don't work in practice. Why? Because when you try to make one vehicle do everything, it ends up doing nothing well. Safety, weatherproofing, durability, all compromised. That's why Ford and Toyota don't make convertible SUVs out of their pickups. It's not because they lack imagination, it's because they've already tried this idea and walked away. Slate also brags about their Slate board chassis, a hybrid between unibody and body-on-frame. Supposedly stronger, lighter, and cheaper. But that design limits how much payload the truck can carry and complicates repair. It's a neat idea on paper. On the road? Let's just say I wouldn't want to tow anything heavier than a lawn chair. Even their numbers on payload and bed size don't blow anyone away. A 5.5-foot bed and 1,500-pound payload might sound good until you compare it to any full-size truck already on the market. And considering they're going up against Ford, Ram, Chevy, and Rivian, all companies with actual infrastructure, it's not just underwhelming, it's borderline laughable. Now let's talk about the range, because this is where things go from slightly delusional to, are you kidding me? Slate claims their base model will give you 150 miles on a 52.7 kilowatt-hour battery, and the extended version offers 240 miles on 84.3 kilowatt-hours. Sounds promising, right? Until you remember that the laws of physics still exist, and unfortunately, Slate's not exempt from them. Let's start with aerodynamics. The Slate truck looks like it was designed in Minecraft. Sharp angles, flat sides, and no effort whatsoever to cut through the air. Its drag coefficient is estimated somewhere between 0.35 and 0.40. Meanwhile, the Tesla Model Y, which has been fine-tuned in wind tunnels like it's prepping for a moon mission, has a drag coefficient of 0.23. That difference isn't just cosmetic. It means the Slate truck loses about 30 to 50% more energy just trying to move forward on the highway. And that's before you even throw anything in the bed. If we're generous, and I mean overly generous, and give Slate a real-world efficiency of 2.2 miles per kilowatt-hour, you're only getting about 116 miles out of that smaller battery in real driving conditions. But it gets worse. You can't just drain an EV battery to zero every day without killing it. Anyone who knows EVs knows that lithium-ion batteries stay healthiest when kept between 20 and 80% charge. That's your usable range. So now your 116 miles drops to around 70, and they're advertising this as a truck. Now, add in cold weather. A little snowstorm? Say goodbye to another 30%. Pull a trailer or load it up with gear like people do with trucks? You might lose half your range again. And highway driving at real speeds, we're talking 75 miles per hour, not the gentle 55 used in EPA tests, slashes another 20 to 30%. At that point, you're looking at maybe 40 miles of actual range on a bad day. You'll spend more time charging this thing than driving it. And unlike Tesla, which has spent over a decade building out smart battery management, thermal systems, and software optimization, Slate's approach seems to be just wing it. There's no mention of real-time efficiency tracking, advanced thermal regulation, or range-preserving features. It's like handing someone a calculator without buttons and asking them to do taxes. But let's say somehow you accept that ridiculous range. You buy one anyway. What happens when it breaks down? That's where things really fall apart. Slate's direct-to-consumer model skips dealerships and service centers entirely. Sounds modern and sleek on a PowerPoint slide, but in the real world, that means there's no place to take your truck when the motor controller fries or the BMS glitches out 200 miles from home. You're not just stuck, you're marooned. Even Tesla, with its billions in revenue and a nationwide mobile service fleet, still leaves customers waiting weeks for repairs, and that's with actual service infrastructure. Slate has none of that. No train network, no mobile techs, no parts warehouses, just vibes. Now, imagine trying to fix one of these trucks in rural Montana. You're a contractor. Your truck goes down on Tuesday. The part, probably some proprietary component Slate swears is off the shelf, needs to be ordered from their main facility, wherever that is. It arrives in 3 weeks, if you're lucky. Meanwhile, your business, completely dead in the water, because you tried to save $5,000 up front, and now you're losing $5,000 a week in income. And don't even think about going to your local mechanic. These aren't Fords or Chevys. They can't be hooked up to a standard OBD scanner and patched up with a wrench and a YouTube tutorial. And if you thought this truck was wild, wait till you see what's coming next. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown.